Welcome to the Economics Lessons podcast, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of economics and how it affects our daily lives. Today, we're going to explore the concepts of supply and demand, two fundamental ideas that drive prices in markets. Understanding these concepts is crucial because they explain how our economy functions and how various factors can influence the availability of goods and their prices. Let's embark on this enlightening journey together. To begin with, let's define what we mean by supply and demand. Supply refers to the quantity of a product or service that producers are willing and able to sell at different prices. On the other hand, demand is the quantity of a product or service that consumers are willing and able to purchase at various prices. Together, these two forces interact in the market, determining prices and available quantities of goods and services. And imagine you love video games. When a new game is released, the demand skyrockets because everyone wants to play it. If the video game is priced too high, many people may choose not to buy it. This is where supply comes in. If the game's developer expects high demand, they might produce a limited number of copies to maintain the game's exclusivity, creating a scenario where supply is less than demand. This imbalance might drive the price higher, reflecting the increased demand. Now, let's consider the law of demand, which states that all else being equal, as the price of a good rises, the quantity demanded falls, and vice versa. This can be illustrated through a simple example. Think about your favorite dessert. If the price of chocolate cake doubles, you might decide to buy less of it or perhaps skip it altogether in favor of something cheaper like vanilla cake. Conversely, if chocolate cake goes on sale, more people are likely to buy it. And conversely, there's the law of supply. This law indicates that producers are more likely to increase supply when prices rise, as higher prices can lead to higher revenues, encouraging manufacturers to produce more of a good or service. For example, if the prices of bicycles rise because more people want to bike due to a health trend, manufacturers may respond by increasing production to meet that demand, thus raising the supply. And the interaction of supply and demand leads to what's known as market equilibrium, the point where the quantity supplied equals the quantity demanded. At this point, the market is said to be balanced. Let's break this down a bit further with a practical example. Think back to the last time you were at a farmer's market. When strawberries are in season, the supply is plentiful, and prices are usually lower. However, if a late frost damages crops, the supply of strawberries might drop, leading to higher prices since consumers still want to purchase them. This balance of supply and demand can shift but is essential for keeping the market running smoothly. And in essence, these concepts illustrate a constantly changing relationship. Real-world events, trends, and preferences can modify this equilibrium. For instance, during holidays like Christmas or during special sales events like Black Friday, consumer demand surges, allowing businesses to increase prices. Have you ever wondered why that happens? Holiday seasons might lead producers to allocate more resources to meet this heightened demand, resulting in shifts in both supply and demand dynamics. And now, let's look closer at some real-world examples of how supply and demand function in everyday situations. One significant example can be found in the housing market. When the economy is doing well, more people seek homes, driving up demand. Conversely, if interest rates rise, making it more expensive to borrow money, demand can decrease, putting downward pressure on housing prices. It's a fascinating cycle, isn't it? And another interesting example comes from the world of technology. When a new smartphone model is released, initial demand can exceed supply, leading to shortages and inflated prices. As time goes on, more units become available, supply increases, and prices tend to stabilize or drop. This fluctuation affects not only consumers but also manufacturers, highlighting how interconnected we all are in our market system. And as we delve deeper into this topic, it's important to recognize that external factors can influence supply and demand. For instance, global events, natural disasters, or even political shifts can significantly impact economic conditions. For example, when a natural disaster strikes a region, the supply of certain goods may plummet due to damage to production facilities, while demand may surge as consumers rush to buy emergency supplies. This imbalance can lead to rapid price increases, emphasizing the importance of understanding these relationship dynamics. And additionally, government policies can also play a role by imposing taxes, subsidies, or regulations that affect supply and demand. When subsidies are offered to farmers to grow certain crops, for example, it may increase the supply of those crops in the market, potentially lowering prices for consumers. These interventions illustrate how economic systems aren't just free markets but can be influenced by decisions made by governments and organizations aimed at addressing specific outcomes. And to wrap our lesson, let's think about how understanding supply and demand can help us in our everyday lives. By grasping these concepts, we can make informed decisions as consumers, recognizing that price fluctuations are often based on supply and demand dynamics rather than arbitrary choices. Whether it's choosing when to buy a new smartphone, deciding on the right time to buy a car, or even understanding why your favorite candy might be on sale, economics is all around us. And as we conclude today's lesson on supply and demand, reflect on the examples we've discussed. How many instances can you think of where you've seen this principle at work in your own life? From shopping at a mall to using digital marketplaces, knowledge of these dynamics equips us to navigate the economic landscape more effectively. Feel free to revisit these concepts regularly and continue your exploration of economics with the following resources: Investopedia, the concise encyclopedia of economics by EconLib, and the IMF's educational content. They can further illuminate these fascinating principles and enhance your understanding of the intricate world of economics. Today, we journeyed through the exciting concepts of supply and demand, discussing how these crucial elements shape our economy. We explored the laws of supply and demand, what market equilibrium is, and how real-world examples reflect changes in these dynamics. We also considered the impact of external factors like natural disasters and government policies on supply and demand, observing how they can lead to significant shifts in prices. Understanding these concepts will not only help you in your academic pursuits but also in making informed decisions as a consumer in everyday life. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Economics Lessons podcast. We hope you found the discussion on supply and demand enlightening and that it encourages you to think critically about the economic forces at play in your life. Keep exploring, stay curious, and join us next time as we delve into more intriguing economic concepts. Until then, have a wonderful day.